Welcome back to Unfuck Your Money, the podcast where go-getters thrive financially. Have you ever noticed that most people know what they should be doing financially? They know that they should be saving more, spending less, paying off their debt, invest, budget, and stop emotional spending. Well, so why don't they? If information was enough, we'd all have healthy saving accounts and retirement funds bursting at the seams. I don't think the problem is a lack of information. In fact, many of my clients can recite every personal finance book under the sun. Financial advice isn't necessarily wrong. However, it assumes that we are operating at full capacity. The challenge is trying to apply good financial advice while also navigating real life. Stress, uncertainty, things like illness, caregiving, grief, burnout, the rising cost of living, relationship challenges, and everyday pressures of just being human. My name is Nadz. I am a behavioral finance coach and a somatic practitioner. And over the past 7 years, I have helped clients pay off debt, reduce financial anxiety, build savings, increase their income, and create healthier financial habits and develop a calmer, more empowered relationship with money. Because financial wellness isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding the behavior behind your money so you can bridge the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it. My hope is that every episode leaves you with a little bit more awareness, a little bit more self-compassion, and one practical step you can take towards a healthier relationship with your money and with yourself. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello. Welcome back to Unfuck Your Money. I'm Nadz. I hope this episode finds you well. Let's talk about something that is rarely addressed when we do SMART goals or when we're trying to tackle our to-do list, whether it contains financially related tasks like organizing your buckets for the month or invoicing your clients or just simply looking at your bank account or day-to-day things like cooking, cleaning, etc., etc. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I want to talk about today in today's episode, but we're going to start by addressing one of the obstacles that we all face and we all hate when it comes to doing things that don't particularly light us up. And this is the habit we all call procrastination. And today I'm going to teach you how to handle it without needing willpower, shame, or discipline. When we look at procrastination from a surface level, what we see is we see our number one enemy to getting shit done, to productivity, to feeling proud of ourselves for accomplishing what we have set out to do for the day. Okay. But what also happens is that we shame ourselves for it. We say that we're sabotaging ourselves, and in a way, it is. However, I also hate it when I have a long to-do list, but I find myself scrolling for what feels like hours, when in fact I need to be using my time, especially in the mornings where I'm mostly full of energy, to do something a little bit more productive with myself. So today, I want us to go a little bit deeper on this procrastination piece because what I'm going to be teaching you, I feel confident that it's going to unlock a lot for you. Maybe it will feel a little bit weird trying to do it if you're trying to do what I'm going to be teaching you for the first time, but I will encourage you to maybe listen to this episode several times and apply what I'm teaching because it's actually life-changing, honestly. So we all hate procrastination, okay? We all agree to that. We judge ourselves for it. We feel ashamed when we do it. But what if when we find ourselves procrastinating, we set all the judgment and all the shame and all the guilt and all of that aside and try to look at it more objectively. And looking at our bad habits in a more objective or even more compassionate way to uncover the real subconscious intentions behind them becomes much easier when we use internal family systems or parts work. And I'm going to teach you how to do this today. Parts work is an amazing framework developed by Dr. Richard Schwartz. I love, 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 love it so much. I started off by reading books about it, and then I went and got certifications. Honestly, it is one of the most valuable life skills that I have learned, and I teach you here on the podcast, and I teach my clients as well. So it's very simple and it's quite intuitive. So when you're finding yourself procrastinating, try to set aside the judgment, try to set aside the negative feelings. Maybe close your eyes and picture that this procrastination is a part of you. Okay. Or another way of seeing this is ask yourself, what part of me doesn't want to do whatever it is that you're setting out to do? Okay. So either imagine that there's a part of you that is procrastinating, not all of you, or just ask yourself, what part of me doesn't want to do this? And we always assume that this part of you always has a positive protective intention. Okay, this is the first rule of using this method, assuming that this procrastination or the part of you that is procrastinating has a positive protective intention. So, for example, this particular episode, it took me maybe 6 days to record. On the surface, it looked like I was procrastinating. So I would think about recording it, think about writing my notes for it, but then I'm like, oh my God, I just want to watch one more episode. I just want to do embroidery for 5 more minutes. I just want to call my mom first. So 6 days later, I release my episodes on Tuesdays. It's Monday afternoon. I've got breakdancing in a few hours, and I procrastinated, quote unquote, until the very last minute. And I knew that there was something under the hood because I always know and believe and teach that procrastination always holds subliminal subconscious messages within it. So I went inwards on my walk this morning and I asked, what part of me, or why don't I want to record this episode? What am I afraid is going to happen? And the answer that my subconscious, my body, whatever you want to call it, gave me was actually very sweet. It said, this topic is so important and I want this episode to be perfect. So, this is what is often below the surface of procrastination, a fear of failure, a fear that things are worse off than what we thought they are. We're not sure where we start. We don't want to feel shame. We don't want to feel discomfort, a feeling of overwhelm, a feeling of fatigue, whatever it is, okay? Just be with it and ask yourself, what do you need, or ask the part rather, what do you need from me right now? This piece, the asking why don't you want to do this thing, and then asking afterwards, what do you want from me right now? This piece will completely change your experience with productivity, your whole day, your whole life actually, because when we work with procrastination, we are actually seeing what is actually underneath. What is it that you actually need? Because as a go-getter, I know that you are very resilient and that you have done and accomplished so much in your life. But when you're procrastinating, there's always something underneath the hood. And this is a much better approach than grind your teeth and get yourself to do the fucking thing. Because I've heard other coaches say that, and I'm, as you can see, very against this. So, in the case of the part of me that was afraid to record this episode because of fear of failure or perfectionism, I actually assured it that no episode will ever be perfect, and that's okay. I will have a million ideas, but I have a limited time and you have a limited attention span. So I will need to be concise and I will need to deliver it in a way that that is going to be simple, or in a way that can be understandable, because I know that you're on the go. So it's never going to be perfect. Also, when I'm very excited, I will stutter and I will stammer. So that is also something I'm not going to judge myself for. So what that part of me needed was assurance. So I gave it the assurance that it's never going to be perfect, that I will still love myself anyway. Okay. And the peace and the reassurance I felt after I gave myself this like 3-minute pep talk, actually really changed my entire day. So when we ask, what do you want from me right now? When we ask that part, when we ask that procrastination, can we also please listen without judgment? Because the answer, when given without self shame or self criticism, can be life changing. The answer often looks like I need reassurance, or I need help, or I need guidance, or I need a smaller goal. The most common one that we as go getters and caregivers have is I need a break, which brings me to the second thing that we really have to address and consider when we tackle our goals, which is our capacity. Okay, because our goals will fizzle into non action, which will induce shame and guilt when we disregard our capacity. Our capacity is, well, capacity in general is one of my favorite concepts that I learned from somatic experiencing. And in very simple terms, it's the emotional, mental, physical resources that we have available to handle what life is asking of us or what you are asking of yourself to do today. Our capacity fluctuates. For example, if I haven't slept well, my capacity goes down. If I'm in a certain time or phase in my menstrual cycle, my capacity goes up and down. So it is really important to ask yourself every day, do I, or maybe even every hour, especially if you're finding yourself procrastinating often, is like, do I have the capacity to meet this goal? Okay. Because if your goal and your to do list are bigger than what your nervous system can currently support here, now, and today, that is a very, very important thing to consider. So instead of asking yourself, how can I be more disciplined? Ask yourself, how can I increase my capacity? Or how can I simplify or break down my goal to meet my capacity today? How can I make this goal small enough that I can actually succeed? Because when we show our nervous system that we can succeed with the goals that we're giving ourselves, because this podcast is called Unfuck Your Money. So if you have had negative experiences with money throughout your life and money is something that activates you or triggers you, puts you in like fight or flight, in other words, it is above your capacity, above your window of tolerance. When we design our goals and set the goals to be small enough, titrated, a term we borrow from somatic experiencing. When we titrate our goals, when we break them down into small chunks, we're actually teaching our nervous system that we can actually trust ourselves with money, because the nervous system learns through safe repetition and through successful experiences or through learning from unsuccessful experiences. So we can reprogram the nervous system through creating smaller goals, goals that are like 90% achievable. So this is actually a way to heal the nervous system, and it will increase capacity. So when I have low capacity, I appear and even feel lazy. I procrastinate, obviously. I look for instant gratification like shopping, snacking, anything that would fuel me or soothe me. This morning when I woke up knowing that I had to record this episode that I have been quote unquote procrastinating on for 6 days, I was very shopping hungry. I had a very big appetite for shopping. I went on all my favorite shopping apps and I put things in my cart and I was like, ooh, what am I doing? These things I don't need these things. I want them, but I want them now. What is under the hood? And that's why I went on a walk, etc. And the rest of the story. So what does having low capacity look like for you? Are you maybe scrolling too much? Are you shopping too much? Are you, I don't know, sleeping? I remember, when was that? 3 weeks ago, we came back from a trip and a lot was happening. I think RB pooped herself and I don't know, like we needed to unload, because when we go to trips, we actually bring our food with us to save money. We had to unload the truck and put things back in the fridge and wash things and do things and put the load of washing in, put that off, blah, blah, blah. And next day was Monday and I had a list of things I should do. You know what? I felt my capacity reduced to zero and I literally went to bed. It was 6 p.m. I told my husband, I'm going to bed. And he looked at me like, what? Literally finished everything I had to do, and I took myself to bed and I slept from 6 p.m. until the next day. And yeah, I was tired, But I recognized that I had zero tolerance. I had zero capacity to deal with everyday things. I literally dissociated. Okay. So this is what happens, we dissociate, I don't know, start disconnecting from ourselves when our capacity has been tapped out. So we can increase our capacity. Obviously, it's not like I said, it fluctuates day to day, but in general, when you have like really low bandwidth to be concerned about things or worry about things or do things, we can actually increase that capacity incrementally. And if I were to summarize how we increase capacity by one word, it would be nourishment. So through resting, through going to bed early, through connection, positive relationships and friends and things that nourish you. Play is actually something that increases your capacity. A lot of times I feel like I'm too tired to go to break dancing or to dance class or to Zumba or whatever, but that energy of play actually energizes me. Okay. And here's another thing, since we're talking about play, when you look at your to-do list, when you look at your goals, your money goals, whatever, there is always a part of you that is playful. That's that wondrous, playful, fun inner child. It's not a bad idea to involve it. Ask that part of you, how can I make this boring ass goal a little bit more fun? Okay, so for example, okay, let me give you an example, because I did mention simplification and making it more fun and breaking down things. So let's say I want to, this is not a financial example, but it's a life example, and I'm sure that you can figure it out. Let's say I want to do this exotic, awesome Arabic dish for dinner, but I have low capacity. So I ask, how can I make this more fun? Well, the answer is always Michael Jackson. So we put a Michael Jackson song on, cool. But then I ask my procrastinating part, like, what is it that you need from me? And often the answer is, yeah, we need to eat, but I don't want to do all the chopping because I'm tired. So I would simplify the dish. Instead of the exotic Arabic dish, it becomes a bolognese, for example, which is still delicious. So also, things that you can do with other people, with like somebody else, like an expert, to increase your capacity is doing SE work. This is something that I do with my clients a lot. I help my clients build capacity through using SE, through things like titration, tracking, pendulation, resources. So if you're curious about those, book one of my reduced price introductory sessions, because SE can really help with increased capacity. It helped me with mine. My capacity decreased so much after I got sick last year. And working with my SE practitioner has really been a life-changing thing. Another thing that increases capacity is saying no. Boundaries with other people. If it doesn't light you up, if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a fuck no. You know the drill. Asking for help also can increase your capacity. Also, like I was saying earlier, doing small, repeatable goals, small goals that are 90% achievable, that builds that momentum, that builds that confidence, and that builds what we call disconfirming experiences, or new experiences that show your nervous system that things can be different now. Things are different now. Okay. So, because we're talking about like two things that are separate but kind of the same. So your nervous system's capacity is how much can you tolerate today, but also when you're dealing with things that you don't like to do, like financial things or things that trigger you, when we do them in small titrated ways, you're building your capacity, but also you're teaching your nervous system that things are different now. So, to recap today's episode, here are 3 rules of dealing with procrastination. Rule number 1, your procrastination always has a positive protective intention. Rule number 2, it is often, or I'm going to say always, is a younger, very scared part of you. That's not you of today. And rule number 3, it holds wisdom and a shortcut to your goals. We don't have to believe it, but we take what it's saying as input into consideration. Okay. Oftentimes, this part of you that's procrastinating, it needs nourishment. So many times, I would do difficult things I don't want to do if I give myself 15 to 20 minutes of embroidery or watching a show. So usually we rest as a reward after doing the thing, but why not try resting before and after? Like, why not? Why not? something to try. And also, the other thing I want to recap with today is make your goals smaller. We go getters don't fail because we lack motivation. We fail because we overestimate our capacity. If today's episode resonated with you and you're tired of wondering why money feels harder than it should be, please go ahead and book a one-on-one financial wellness session. I have introductory sessions that are at a lower rate. Together, we will explore the emotional, behavioral, and nervous system patterns that are driving your finances, identify what is getting in the way, and create a practical path forward that actually works for your real life. Because I don't think you need more financial advice. What you need is to understand why you're struggling and what's getting in the way. So book the session through the link in the show notes. And if this episode made you think, gave you a new perspective, or helped you feel a little bit less alone, then would you do me a favor? Leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and you can email me a screenshot if you want, because reviews really help this little podcast reach more go-getters, more humans who need it. And because I appreciate you, I'll send you a special thank you gift in return. Thank you so much for joining me today on Unfuck Your Money, and I will see you next week. Take care and bye for now.